My name is Sean McCarthy. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Comcast. Super excited to be here with this esteemed panel today. We came together to talk about a once-in-a-generation opportunity. We have the opportunity to solve a huge problem, and that's digital equity. Digital equity means that everyone, regardless of where you live or their income, can get access to broadband internet services, a computer or other devices, and the digital skills they need to succeed in school and in the workforce. Digital equity can drive our economy forward. Two things have come together right now that shed a light on digital equity. First is the pandemic. We didn't understand the importance of digital equity during the pandemic. We sure do now. And secondly, the pandemic has changed things for the good. Everything we do is online. Working, applying for a job, going to school, telehealth, watching a movie. I can go on and on and on. So I was kind of stunned when I added up all the numbers. $50 billion from a state and federal government program standpoint on digital equity. So that's why we're here today. We have an opportunity to bring internet service to rural areas of this county. We can help eligible low-income families pay for their internet service and mobile devices. And we can teach digital skills that will help not only the people but families succeed. All of this will have a profound impact on Sangamon County and the communities in this county. Our participants today represent the people, the businesses, and the communities within Sangamon County. They're going to tell us why digital equity is so important and why this once-in-a-generation opportunity is going to propel Sangamon County forward. So with that, I'm going to start asking some questions. We've introduced ourselves. So my previous experience, I was director of the Illinois Department of Commerce. So economic development, I've been doing all my professional career, so it's near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to start with Ryan. Just how important is connectivity and technology to attracting businesses in Sangamon County?
Well, the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance routinely works with consultants and businesses that are looking for sites for their operations. And one of the things that a business is always looking for is what's the utility access? And that used to mean water, electricity, natural gas, and now it means broadband. That's a standard utility. It's not something that's nice to have. They absolutely want to know what exists. They have to have it. Just like we have to have it at home, they need to have it inside their operations and workplaces. So it's absolutely critical for us to be able to continue to develop all parts of our community. Specifically, when you think about attracting this exciting term called a mega site or even a large operation, I think you can look inside any urbanized area and just wonder where you're going to be able to assemble hundreds of acres of land, right, to be able to satisfy what that business needs. That's going to happen in the more rural area. But in order for us to be competitive in attracting those types of developments, broadband needs to be there, it needs to be available, or those sites in our community won't even be considered.
Piggybacking off that, how often when you get a RFI from Intersect Illinois or the state of Illinois, how often is connectivity a part of that process?
Every single time. It's always part of the process. That's part of what they, what the consultant, that's part of the site consideration. We call it site selection. It's really site elimination. That's what they're trying to do is eliminate sites that don't work so they can focus on some that do. And it's an automatic elimination if you don't have connectivity access to broadband.
Tiffany, we are honored and humbled to be partnered with you for years. So we're a big advocate for Boys and Girls Club. Thank you for all your work you do. So let's dream big here, okay? How would this funding impact the lives of the kids you support?
Well, as I stated earlier, we know during the pandemic and with us being able to stay open to support remote learners especially, it's absolutely paramount that students have access to, those digital essentials and tablets and computers and internet access because it will be a part of their daily educational journey for the rest of their life in a way that, you know, when I was in school, we never would have experienced. Prior to the pandemic, you had students that, you know, might have a tablet or device to just learn how to use it at school, and now it literally is going home with them every day. It has become a component of each one of their courses in some way, shape, or form as young, you know, as kindergartners now. So for Boys and Girls Clubs, you know, especially, our mission is to make sure that we are getting kids ready for graduation, that we are supporting them every step of the way academically, and, you know, we are there to be present and that go-between for families between school and out-of-school time. So it's extremely important moving forward that students are prepared and ready, because we know, you know, there are some stats that say we've lost 2 decades worth of making sure that high school students graduate on time. And literacy alone is a huge hurdle that we're going to have to overcome. So, you know, we have a lot of kind of barriers and hurdles that we're going to have to jump over these next 10 to 12 years with this kind of student class that's graduating out of the pandemic. And I can't tell you how important it is for us as a club to not have to worry about how do we keep the kids connected, how do we keep them interested. And, you know, again, we're very fortunate to be a Lift Zone partner for Comcast, so people from the community that don't have access to internet can stop by the club anytime and do what they need to do, and that is applying for jobs and checking their kids' grades. So it's extremely important for us moving forward.
Thank you. Karen, first of all, this next question is for you. First of all, thank you for hosting us today. My colleague Jack and I spent the night at the Inn last night, so a lovely establishment, and then we went to Obed's as well for dinner. So again, thank you.
Made all the rounds.
So when we're leading up to this panel, we spoke about connectivity and technology and what it means in rural communities. Can you tell us what's at stake for these communities in the rural areas of this county?
I firmly believe that if we don't have the basic infrastructure in place, like we had electricity, internet access is the same thing. It's just expected. If we don't have that available in these rural communities, we're going to see decreasing population, decreasing businesses, decreasing home values, and eventually these small communities just dry up and go away. So it's vital to the livelihood of each of these communities and as to the livability of each of these communities.
Mike, you represent the local business community. How important is local workforce and digital skills necessary to work in Springfield and in this county?
Well, it's imperative. You know, you have to have access to the internet, but then you also have to have the training and understanding to operate it. My wife was a business teacher, and she taught technology. And she would challenge every freshman. She would say, if you learn my system, and then you can come back here 5 years after you graduate and tell me that it's not helping you, I will give you $100. She never had one person come back and collect the $100, but she had a lot of people come back and thank her, because no matter what you do, you know, because she would have freshmen says, oh, I'm going to be a mechanic, I don't need that skill. And then they found out they did. So no matter what you do, you have to have it. A great example in my personal life, I opened my first restaurant in 1979. I sold my last one in 2017. And I can tell you the biggest change during that period was how technology was, you were dependent on it. We couldn't operate at the end without the internet. If the internet went down, we were just deer in headlights, what to do. And, you know, it's so important that a business not only has it, but they have the training and understanding. And then in regards to workforce, I mentioned earlier, we got to make sure these homes have the internet and they have the proper, you know, equipment in place to be able to apply for jobs, to even find out about jobs. And so, yeah, it's vital. Like everyone says, it's just like electricity or water. You need it to function.
Could I add just a little
Please.
statement to that, because, in today, like you said, in business, it's vital to the success of business, but even today, the government reporting, you have to do it online. So if you wanted to pay your sales tax, it's online. If you wanted to record your excise taxes, it's all online. So if we don't have access to that, then we're not able to fulfill the obligations that we have with the federal government or state government or city government. So there's a lot at play with why businesses need to have that reliable connection.
You cannot open up a business today without the internet.
Absolutely.
You cannot do it. Like Karen says, all your reporting, your payments have to be online.
Well, speaking of an awesome local employer who not only needs connectivity and technology to run the business, but also to attract guests and services. So, Darren, can you tell us how important connectivity is and amenities in the hotel?
I sure can, thank you. It's so important in our industry that the first thing when you walk into your room, that's the first thing that pops up on your TV, is to ask to be set up to have your internet connection. So that's how important we feel it is in the hospitality environment. We also, when we talk about the economic that it does for industries, the workforce has been one that's been very difficult to hire this last few years, especially in our hospitality industry. And we have a lot of applicants that apply that live in smaller towns. There's a lot of smaller towns in Sangamon County. Springfield's a nice-sized town, but we have a lot of smaller towns, and probably half of the panel might live in some of these smaller towns. But we actually, how many times has somebody filled out an application recently where they filled it out by hand? Not very often. Our applications and all of our industry, in the hospitality industry, is done by internet. And if we're going to bring people to the workforce, we have to provide good internet usage for them to fill out that application.
I'm going to piggyback on that as well. So you talked about applicants. It's been a tight labor market. And so do you feel that the applicants you're seeing have the right digital skills for the positions that you have available?
We are starting to see a little bit better skills. I have to say that probably a year and a half to 2 years ago, those skills were starting to lack. But it seems like we're getting, we've somehow have turned a little bit of a corner that they are improving.
All right, Gordy, I'm not letting you off the hook. Manufacturing in Illinois go together like bread and butter. So can you tell us how manufacturing has changed and how essential connectivity and technology are for the digital skills that are needed in today's manufacturers?
Sure. Thanks, Sean. Manufacturing is the single largest share of the state's GDP, so we're the single largest industry, per se, in the state. We also directly or indirectly support 1/3 of all of the jobs in the state of Illinois. And as we mentioned earlier, especially in our smaller towns, in our rural communities, those manufacturers are often the lifeblood of the community. They're the largest employer. They may be located on the outskirts of town in a nondescript Morton building, and they may not, beat their own chest about what they're making on the edge of town. But when you go inside, you would expect to see, as in the old days, an operation that was dark and dirty and dangerous. Your prototypical steel plant with sparks flying everywhere, or workers who have coveralls that are covered in soot. That is not a reflection of what manufacturing looks like today. Manufacturing today is high-tech, it's diverse, it moves at the speed of light, and it's extraordinarily connected. Modern manufacturing machinery all needs to be online reliably and consistently to manage production processes for quality control. And that is the reflection of manufacturing in the state of Illinois, from your smallest manufacturers in your rural communities to the large Fortune 100 companies who are iconic brands who are located in installations all over the state of Illinois. And then the second piece I'd mention is the workforce piece. The workers who do that high-tech connected work in our manufacturing plants these days need to be digital natives. They need to understand how a CNC machine works and how it's connected to the internet and how their network in their plant keeps the operation up and running and keeps everyone safe and productive. And so we also need rural broadband so that the next generation of manufacturing workers can be up to speed on how broadband works and on how connectivity functions so that they can continue to perform those jobs that the pandemic illustrated we needed so badly.
Staying with you, Gordy.
Okay.
Makers Madness.
Makers Madness.
It's awesome. Comcast is proud to sponsor the Makers Madness. Talk to us a little bit about the program, the event, and some of the successes that you've had in the past.
Awesome, thanks, Sean. Makers Madness is my baby, and I love it, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Makers Madness is in our 4th year at the Illinois Manufacturers Association. We are proud to partner with Comcast Business on this contest, which is an NCAA tournament-style contest to identify the coolest thing made in Illinois. And we've had a nice run of iconic products that have won in previous years, including Caterpillar's large 797F mining truck, which you can immediately envision in your mind. Last year's winner was Rivian's R1T, the brand new electric pickup truck that's being made in Normal, Illinois. And Makers Madness is a contest that lives entirely online. You have to be online to participate in it, to nominate products, or to vote in it. And we're in the nominations period. We just launched it last week. Anyone in the state of Illinois can go to makersmadnessil.com, nominate your favorite product or products. There's no limit on how many you can nominate. Nominate your favorite products. We'll be open for nominations for a couple of weeks. We will then take those nominations and open it for voting across the state. You can vote up to 5 times per day during the nomination period, so in the greatest of Illinois traditions, you can vote early and vote often. After those nominations are whittled down, we'll whittle them down to 16. We'll enter a bracketed contest, NCAA tournament style, where we'll narrow the field from 16 to 8 to 4, and then we will crown a champion March 29th in a special event at the Governor's Mansion. Last year, Governor Pritzker joined us to crown the Rivian R1T as the 2022 coolest thing made in Illinois, and I'm excited to see what we'll win this year. Thank you again for your partnership on Makers Madness, Sean.
Thanks, Gordy. All right, digital skills. I'm going to go back to Tiffany on this. Talk to us about the club's digital skills development programs and how this funding that's available can help increase their reach.
Well, again, with everything digital for our students, we really try to provide them access. Boys and Girls Clubs has a lot of curriculums online, Money Matters, my.net for kids, to learn how to navigate that space, and they can earn badges online and all kinds of really great things. So again, because we know that so much of their academic world now moving forward is going to be online, we definitely try to provide programming for them to help support those high yield activities that are fun and they're learning when they don't know that they're learning. And it's not an extension of the school day. We try to really fortify our students with fun things that they can really have a good time with and have some rewards and some recognition there. So, again, digital skills, the kids also go home and they teach their parents things. I learn stuff every day because, believe it or not, my kids don't think I know anything. So it's neat to kind of sit down with them and see what they're learning at school, what they have questions about. I think they're mystified sometimes about the fact that we didn't have all of this when I was a kid, and that hasn't been that long ago. But we're really excited at Boys and Girls Clubs to just really keep with the times and give kids access to what's really going on right now, and again, just helping parents support their students as well.
Mike, Tiffany just talked about some digital skills. Tell me how you see tomorrow's workforce and what the digital skills are needed for that workforce.
Well, they're definitely going to have to feel very comfortable in the digital world. I've seen operations that are really moving towards technology. In the restaurant business, you think you always need a cook, you always need this and that, but it's amazing how many restaurant operations are going to more digital. So they're going to have to feel real comfortable in having those skills. And, one of the things that I think is very important that we've touched on a little bit is making sure that the younger kids have the proper devices and the proper training early on. I was asked to be part of a study for Springfield in regards to zip code 627010203 on their internet access. And we found out the accessibility was pretty good. The affordability and the training was where we were lacking. And a lot of it was lack of education on the programs available. There's some great programs there. We've got to make sure that people know about them and take advantage of that. So many people said they had the internet because they had a cell phone. And, you know, when you're trying to fill out a job application, you're going to come up short for the most part on a cell phone. And so I think the training needs to start early because that's going to be so much part of their life as they enter the career, whatever career they have. So they have to feel comfortable with technology.
Ryan, can you talk a little bit about what the Alliance has done from a surveying perspective on studies for rural broadband and the need for broadband in the county?
Certainly. The Sangamon County Board had commissioned the Springfield Salmon Growth Alliance to have a study of broadband access all across Sangamon County, basically outside of the city of Springfield. As Mike mentioned, the city conducted a study for the city of Springfield. And Abby Powell from our office led that study, and she can give you some of the high-level results of the study, which will be publicized in here pretty soon.
Yeah. So as Ryan said, when we think about broadband access, we really need to consider it as a utility. It's not a nice to have anymore, it's a necessary to have. When it comes to business attracting new employers to Springfield and Sangamon County, they immediately request information about utility access, including broadband. And then to connect some dots, I think what we found in our survey was not just about business attraction and our current residents, but in terms of connecting our opportunities to grow our workforce for new residents and attracting those people to Springfield and Sangamon County. Again, this is a once in a generation opportunity. People are looking to move out of major metropolitan areas. Maybe they'll come back here because they have family from the area or they have roots here. Or maybe they live in a large metropolitan area, but they'd like to see nature every now and then, want to have some seasons in their life. But in order to sell a house, you need to have broadband access. Those people can work from anywhere, and they need to have the adequate utilities and affordable utilities to work from Springfield and Sangamon County. We're well positioned for growth in many ways, but now is the opportunity to expand those broadband networks.
Thank you. So this morning, the National Skills Coalition announced results of a national study about how important the digital skills are. So I'm just going to read a few of the, and we'll send you some information on this, but a few of the highlights is 90% of job openings in Illinois require some level of digital skills. Workers who have digital skills make more money. Higher wages equal more tax revenue, and helping employees upskill as their business and marketplace evolve can reduce turnover. So Karen, I'm going to save this last question for you. Again, thank you for hosting. But let's look to the future. And let's talk about, we brought high-speed internet to some of the rural parts of this county, and more people have the high digital skills they need to participate in the workforce. How does that change the trajectory of those areas?
You know, as we see the trend, like Abby just said, you know, more people wanting to move outside the metropolitan areas, so they're moving to the simpler life, as I call it, out in the rural communities or smaller towns. And in order, you know, to maintain a livelihood, those people are going to work from home. They're going to create home-based businesses, whether, you know, some form of service. So to have that access to broadband, quality, high-speed, consistent, it's going to make or break these smaller rural communities. I myself, you know, I moved out to the rural community back in 2018, and I took for granted that everybody had high-speed internet, reliable access. And then when I got to where we moved and in the house, I had no cellular service, let alone, you know, consistent quality internet. So I have subscribed to an internet service, but unfortunately, it's not reliable. So I myself, I live in a digital world because I have multiple properties throughout the state of Illinois and in multiple cities. So I get up in the morning and the first thing I do is I access the internet. I look at files from revenues, I look at files of what I need to do. I create my day online. I live in a digital world. Everything I do is in a digital world. I pay bills online, I file tax forms online, I file my payrolls online, I do everything online. So if I didn't have that ability, I couldn't maintain my livelihood. I would have to drive into town to do everything, and that's not the most efficient form of doing business because I lack internet, which again, it's a basic, I think it's just our basic utilities. It's like water, it's like, electricity. You have to have broadband. Everybody deserves equal access to broadband.
Thank you. Well, I know our time is up here, so I want to say thank you all personally for being on this panel and talking about the digital equity and the needs for this county. As representative of Comcast, we're proud to partner with each and every one of you, and our goal is to increase the quality of life for residents of this county, and I think we have programs in place to move this forward. So thank you again.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.